Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be drafting out this dress that you can see on your screen. So if you're interested, keep on watching and let's get started. I'll start by drafting out my upper body. So I already have my pattern paper here. I'll go ahead and start placing my points. Okay, the first point I'll take is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist point, which is my half length. Mine is 16 inches. I'll mark the 16 inches and I'll go ahead and add 1 inch to that 16 inches, making it 17 inches. That 1 inch is going to serve as my joining allowance. So after doing that, I'll rule straight lines across all these points and I'll label my lines. I have the bust line, the under bust line, the waistline, and my allowance. Okay, so this is my half length. Next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement on the start of this pattern paper, which is my shoulder line. I'll take half of my shoulder line. I'll indicate that with a dot. On that dot, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and I'll slant into the neckline area like this. So guys, after marking my shoulder slope, the next thing I'll do is to place my tape on that shoulder slope, as you can see, and I'm going to mark half of my round armhole circumference. Okay, I'm going to indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'll mark the same measurement that I have on my shoulder line. I'll make sure I have it on this dot. Okay, so what I have there is 7.5 inches. And make sure that I have the same 7.5 inches on this line. Remember, I came down by my round armhole circumference divided by 2. So on that line, I'll ensure that I have the same measurement that I have on the shoulder line. I'll indicate that with a dot and I'll connect into a straight line. So guys, next thing I'll do is to also rule a straight line across this point for my armhole. After doing that, guys, this particular line now is going to be my chest line. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape on this straight line right here and I'll divide what I have into 2. So what I have is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I'm going to indicate that 3.5 inches with a dot. On that dot, I'm going to come inward by half an inch. Okay, I'll also indicate the half an inch with a dot. After doing that, guys, don't mind the way I'm placing my tape. This tape is quite difficult to read, but I came in by half an inch. Okay, so what I'll do now is to place my tape on this chest line and I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll also indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'll connect from the shoulder slope to meet the half an inch, and from that point I'll connect to meet the dot that I have on the chest line like this. So guys, next thing I'll do is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement. Okay, I'm going to place that on the half length, on my waistline, on the bust line, and on the under bust line. So if you are drafting directly on your fabric, go ahead and add half an inch. So what you do is to place your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus half an inch. I didn't place half an inch on mine because when transferring to my fabric, I'm going to add the half an inch on the fabric. So I went ahead to connect the 4 dots into a straight line. The next thing I'm going to do is to determine the neckline of my dress. Okay, so what I'll do is to go up from this bust line. So it depends on how deep you want your neckline to be. I'm going up by 2 inches, as you can see. I'll mark the 2 inches all the way down and I'll connect into a straight line. Okay, so if you don't want your neckline to be too deep, you can go up by 3 inches or 3.5 inches, and if you want it low, you can go down, or you can just stop at the bust line depending on what you want. Okay, so what I'll do is to now extend this dart leg to meet the 2 inches that I went up with. I hope you guys are not confused. So guys, next thing I'll do is to take in my darts. Okay, so on the side front, which is the side facing me, I'm going out from this straight line by 1 inch. So if you're a plus size, you can go out by 1.5 inches. So I took the 1 inch on the half length on the waistline and on the under bust line, and I connected into a straight line. On the center front, I'm going to come out by half an inch, as you can see. So don't mind how I'm placing my tape. Okay, I'm taking half an inch. So after marking the half an inch, I'll also connect the 3 dots into a straight line. So if you're a plus size, take 1 inch on this side and take half an inch on the other side. Okay, so after connecting, next thing I'll do is to go down from the bust line by 1 inch. Okay, I will indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to use the curved part of my ruler to connect from the under bust line to meet the 1 inch, and on the other end I'll use my straight ruler to just connect like this. So guys, next thing I'm going to do is to determine how deep I want my neckline to be. As you can see on the thumbnail, the neckline there is a sweetheart neckline, so decide where you want it to start from. So what I'm doing is going down by 1.5 inches from this my from the chest line, and I'm going to connect using my ruler from that point to the dart leg like this. So it depends on how deep you want your neckline to be. You can maintain the chest line and you can go down from the bust point depending on what you want. After doing that, I'll go ahead and tighten my over bust. So on the side front, which is the side facing me, I went out by 1 inch. On the center front, I'm going to come out by 0.25 inches. Okay, so don't mind the way I'm placing my tape. This tape is quite difficult to read. Okay, so I'm just placing it the way I will understand, but I'm marking 0.25 inches on the center front. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect from that point to meet the bust line like this. Okay, so you can do 1 inch on both sides. Okay, so after connecting, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to blend like this to avoid any sharp edge. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and also blend this neckline area to meet the armhole area, and I'll start placing my measurement. I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the bust line. I'll go ahead and add my stitching allowance and also replace the darts. On the under bust line, I'll place my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the darts and I'll add my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart and I'll add my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect the dots together. So guys, after connecting the dots, I'll go ahead and use my marker to highlight the parts that we are going to cut out. The next thing we'll do is to draft the queen and neckline. So what I'll do first of all is to come in by 3 inches for my neck width. Okay, what I have left on this shoulder area is about 4.5 inches. So if you don't want it to be too wide, you can reduce it and come inward by 4 inches or 5 inches for the neck width, depending on what you want. And from this straight line on the armhole area, I came in by 1.5 inches. So what I'll do is to slant from my neck width. Okay, I'll slant from that point to meet this 1.5 inches that I came in with. Okay, after doing that, guys, this is what I have. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to tighten this yoke. Okay, so I'm going to take out 0.25 inches from this yoke. So I'm going to take it out. I'm taking out half an inch from the yoke. Okay, from this end, and I'll slant it back to the armhole area. Okay, just so when you sew your yoke, it's going to be firm. Okay, it's not going to gape. So I'm going to cut this part out when I'm cutting. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut. So pay close attention so you know where to cut. So guys, I'm done cutting, and this is what I have. This is what my front pattern look like. I have the yoke, I have the center front and the side front. I'll go ahead and indicate where the yoke where I'm going to place the yoke when I'm sewing. I'm doing that on the side front. Okay, so just go ahead and label your patterns: the yoke, the center front, the side front. Okay, so go ahead and draft out the back. So for the back, guys, I'm going to first of all go ahead and take out my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll mark the 1.5 inches all the way down to the end of the pattern paper, and I'll connect all the dots into a straight line. Guys, next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement. So I'm taking all these measurements after my zipper allowance. Half of my shoulder measurement, I'll indicate that. Next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. So for the width, just like I did for the front, I'm taking 3 inches for the width, because the width for the front and that of the back is supposed to be the same. And for the depth, I'll be using 1 inch for my neck depth. So I'm going to connect from the neck width to make the neck depth like this. After doing that, guys, I'm going to place my tape on this shoulder slope, and I'll go down by half of my round armhole circumference, which is 7 inches. I'll indicate the 7 inches with a dot. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape back on this shoulder line, and whatever I have there is what I'm going to place on this 7 inches. As you can see, I'll indicate that, and then I'll connect the 2 dots into a straight line. After doing that, I'll roll a straight line across for my armhole to sit. The next thing I'll do now is to start taking my point. So the only point we need for this back is the half length. Okay, so I'm going to go down by 16 inches, which is my half length, and I'll add 1 inch to that measurement for my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect like this. Okay, the chest line, which is on this armhole area, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'll place my tape on this straight line, and I'll find the middle point. What I have here is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I'll indicate the 3.5 inches with a dot. After doing that, I'll use my ruler to connect from that 3.5 inches dot to meet the dot that I have on this other end of the armhole. After doing that, I'll go ahead and place my stitching allowance to that measurement. Okay, so on the waistline also, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. So if you want to add that to the back, just go ahead and add 1 inch for that allowance. Okay, and then you're going to take in your dart. I'll also go ahead and place my stitching allowance. From there, I'll connect from the chest line to meet the waistline like this. After doing that, I'll blend the armhole area. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to figure out where I want the opening at the back to be. As you can see on the thumbnail, the opening at the back is quite deep, so go ahead and determine where you want yours to start from. So for me, I'm going to go down from the shoulder area by about 11 inches. That is how deep I want the back opening to be. So I'll indicate the 11 inches. I'll mark the 11 inches like this. I'll go ahead and roll a straight line across. Okay, this is to serve as a guide for me to know what to do with the back. Okay, after connecting like this, the next thing I'm going to do is to go down from my neckline. Now you can see that the neckline area is quite wide, so I'm going to go down. For me, I'll go down by about 2.5 inches. Okay, if you don't want it too wide, you can do 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Go ahead and indicate that with a dot. After doing that, you can now connect from the neckline area to meet where you want your opening to start from. So I'm using my free hand to just connect like this. So it depends on how deep you want it to be. Okay, so just go ahead and connect it however you want it. So after connecting, this is what I have. So you can also decide to go down from the line you created. Just freestyle, do whatever you want to do, or you can decide to go up depending on how close you want it to be, and also go ahead and connect. Okay, so once I figure out what I want, I'm going to use my marker to just highlight the opening at the back. Okay, so just go ahead and figure out what you want. Okay, so it depends on how open you want your own back to be. So I'm just using my marker to trace out what I want. I want to maintain this straight line at the back, so this is what I'm going to cut out. So I will extend the lines to meet my zipper allowance, as you can see me doing. Okay, so guys, this part is where I'm going to be fixing my buttons. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all the parts that we are going to cut on this pattern paper: the shoulder area, the armhole area. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to adjust my zipper area. So I want to explain something for those that want to cut out their yoke. In case you want a yoke for the back and you want it to be a queen neckline, you're going to repeat the same thing that we did for the front. Sorry, we're going to connect from the shoulder area just like this, the same thing we did for the back. Okay, and you're going to tighten the yoke by going up by 0.5 inches. Okay, and you extend your chest line. Okay, so but the one on the thumbnail is what I am doing. You don't need to cut out any queen and neckline for the back. Okay, so the next now is to adjust the zipper area. So remember, I took 1.5 inches as my zipper allowance. I reduced the waist area by half an inch and I connected back to meet the other side. Okay, after doing that, I'll just go ahead and finish up this queen and neckline. This is for those that are cutting out the yoke, but that is not what is on the thumbnail. Okay, so you don't need to cut out any queen and neckline. The most important thing here is the shoulder for the back and that of the front to match. Okay, so what I'll do is to just go ahead and cut. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to take in your dart for the back, go ahead and add your dart intake allowance. Okay, and then taking your dart. Okay, so after cutting, guys, this is what I have. I don't have any yoke, so I'll just be cutting out 2 pieces for this. Okay, so guys, this is my yoke for the front. Okay, as you can see, the shoulder area is matching, and that is the most important thing. Okay, so make sure whatever you do, the shoulder for that of the front and that of the back is matching, even if you are cutting out a yoke for the back. Okay, so guys, we have the front and the back patterns in place. Okay, so all you have to do now is to place them on your fabric and you're going to cut. Make sure your center front is unfold. Okay, to cut out the skirt part, what you're going to do is to fold your fabric into 2. Okay, the first thing you do is to mark your waistline. So the start of this pattern paper is going to be my waistline. I indicated that. The next thing I'll do is to mark the distance from my waist to my hip. The waist to the hip measurement I'm working with is 8 inches. I indicated the 8 inches and I ruled a straight line across. I went ahead to label it my hip line. The next thing I'll do is to go down from this hip line, depending on how you want your backs to be. Okay, how long you want it to be. What I'll do is to go down by 5.5 inches. That is how I want my backs to be. That's how deep I want it to be. So I'll go ahead and connect the dots like this. Because I want to use this pattern for both the front and the back skirts, I'm going to take my zipper allowance. So I'll be marking 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. After doing that, I'll connect the dots into a straight line and I'll label the line my zip. After doing that, I'm going to fold it inward. Okay, because I want to use it to cut out the front first before cutting out the back. So I'll start placing my measurements. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. If you want to add dart to your skirt, go ahead and place 1 inch for your dart and then add your stitching allowance. On the waistline, on the hip line, I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll also go ahead and place my stitching allowance. On the skirt length, go ahead and reduce about 1 inch or 1.5 inches from what you have on your hip line. So place your tape on your hip line, whatever you have, reduce it by 1 inch or 1.5 inches and place it on the skirt length. After doing that, I'll connect from the waist to the hip and from the hip to the skirt length. After connecting the lines, guys, I'll go ahead and take my dart. So I left 1 inch for my dart intake. What I'll do is to go in by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I indicated that. The next thing is to determine how long you want the dart to be. So my front dart is going to be about 3 inches, while the back dart to be about 4 inches. I'll connect into a straight line like this, and I'll take half an inch on both sides of the straight line, and I'll connect it back to the dart leg. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut. So you can use this pattern to cut for the back skirt and the front skirt. All you have to do is to fold in the zipper allowance just like what we already have. Use it to cut out your front, but make sure your front the fabric is on fold before cutting out the front, and then you're going to open up your zipper allowance and use it to cut out your back. To get the basque, I'm going to go down from my waistline by about 4.5 inches. You can do 4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to now slant from this 4.5 inches down to the straight line that we have here. So I'm not extending it to the zipper allowance. Okay, I'm just slanting it to meet that straight line. So go ahead and do that. After connecting, this is what I have. I'm going to cut this other part out. So guys, I'm done cutting, and this is what I have. So we'll be using this to cut out for both the front and the back. Okay, just fold it in, fold your fabric into two for the front, cut for the front, open your zipper allowance and cut for the back. Okay, so yeah guys, that is all for the pattern drafting tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Stay tuned for the sewing version. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next one.